Dear students, as we are discussing the poem Personal Helicon for Michael Langley, written by Seamus Heaney, the Nobel laureate of English literature. Seamus Heaney, an Irish poet, a playwright, and a translator, received the Nobel Prize in the field of literature in 1995. So, in these lectures, we are discussing the poem stanza by stanza. We are explaining it stanza by stanza. I have already discussed three stanzas of this poem. Now, in this lecture, I will discuss some other stanzas from this poem. Here, I will take the stanza as others had echoes, gave back your own call with a clean new music in it, and one was scarcesome, for there out of furnace and tall foxglows a rat slapped across my reflection. Dear students, in these lines, the poet says that there were different kinds of wells, or we can say there were other wells as well. As in the first two stanzas, we discussed the first and the second well. So, in another stanzas, the poet tells us about other wells as well. So, poet says that some wells they give echoes. So when we produce sound near the wells, the sound is reflected back. That's called echoing of the sound. So some wells create or produce echoes of the sound. Okay. So the poet would call out to hear the echoes of his own voice. Here we got here that the poet produces his own voice in front of a well, and the sound and the voice of the poet echoes back. Dear students, some wells, or we can say that they were scarcesome, they were frightening for the poet, as once a rat across his reflection and frightened him. So the poet was, we can say, the near a well where the sounds were echoing. Okay, he also found some another wells where rats ran across his reflection, and this frightened the poet, we can say, to a greater extent. As in the very beginning, I told you that Seamus Heaney spent much of his childhood on his father's farm, where he was very much scared of the rats. So, in this very stanza, the poet talks of other values that were echoing. That means the poet heard his own voice back when he produces his, when he calls, or we can say produce the sound here. Moreover, the reflection of the movement of the rats across his reflection near some wells scare, we can say, scares the poem very much. So here you got this very stanza. There are some words like we can say that echoes means resounding, scaresome, that means frightening. Furnace, I have already discussed, these are the plants with delicate leaves but no flowers, and foxglows, variety of plants with flowers. And slapped here means hit suddenly. So in this very stanza, we can say that the poet goes to different wells, or he founds different wells there. So some wells they were echoing, and he also was scared of the rat that ran across his reflection from one of the well. Now the one more stanza from this poem, that is, now to pry into roots, to finger slime, to stare big-eyed Narcissus, Narcissus into some spring is beneath all adult dignity. I rhyme to see myself, to set the darkness echoing. Dear students, here are some words. I would like to first introduce you these words. To pry into here means to see into, or we can say to search. To finger here means to feel or touch. To finger slime, that means for slime means here some unpleasant thick liquid substance. To stare, you know that, to look with wide or with vivid eyes at something. Okay, so big-eyed Narcissus, in Greek mythology, a handsome youth with big eyes, a handsome youth with big eyes who fell in love with his own beautiful face as he saw it reflected in a pool. So, got here, dear students. So, these are some of the words that you should know. Dear students, in these lines, now to pry into roots, to finger slime, to stare big eyed Narcissus into some spring is beneath all adult dignity. I rhyme to see myself, to set the darkness echoing. As you remember, I told you in the very summary about this poem that in this stanza we can say that in these lines the poet says that he has now grown up. Now the childhood has gone, he has now entered into the adulthood. Now we can say he has now grown up, he is now an adult man. So he is now an adult man. So he considers it all beneath the dignity of an adult to do things like prying into roots of plants. तो अब उसे लग रहा है कि अगर हम मैं वेल्स के पास जाऊँगा, उनकी डेप्थ को देखूंगा, वहाँ प्लांट्स देखूंगा, वहाँ निकालूंगा कुछ, सो इट इज़ नाउ बिलो द डिग्निटी ऑफ एन एडल्ट मैन. Here we can say that the poet considers it now all beneath the dignity of an adult to do things like prying into roots of plants, fingering slime, and staring into some spring. Okay, dear students, you got it here. This means that he has now stopped. He has now stopped going towards wells. He has now stopped watching these things which he used to. We can say that in his childhood. So here we can say that his poetic perception has now changed. Now he has become a mature. He has become a potential, a capable writer. Okay. So, in his years of adulthood, his poetic perception has changed. He has now matured. He has become, we can rather say, a potential, a capable writer. He no longer looks into the wells. So, he no longer now looks into the wells but writes poetry that makes the darkness echoes and resound. So, here we can say that. So, darkness and echoes, it now form the basis of his poetry. So, he now writes a poetry and looks towards himself as an established poet. So you got it here. These are very simple, we can say, the stanzas, and you got here the meaning of these two stanzas. You need to go through these stanzas to get the complete, we can say, the comprehension about this poem. Okay, dear students. So here I concluded the stanza-wise explanation of this poem. In the next lecture, inshallah, I will discuss with you the theme of the poem and some other things as well. Thank you.